Zach Brown keeps calling me forever. And one day he called me and he said, look, McLaren needs cash by Friday. We are selling 5 Formula One cars from the collection. At that point I said yes. I hadn't even heard what car it was. He said, well, just, hang on, let's just go through the history. So he rattled off about 5 chassis, and there was 4 of us that had the opportunity to buy one of their cars from the museum. He gets down and he says, and then we've got MP4 7, chassis 7, that won Monaco in 1992. And I said, I'll take that. And he said, well, I haven't given you a price. I said, I really don't care. I'll go to the bank and we'll mortgage Griot's garage and the building, so he gave me a price, and I thought it sounded really reasonable. I mean, compared to what F1 cars do sell for. And so it took about 2 years for me to finally get the car over here. So that spread out the payments for 2 years for me, so it was manageable. And then I just looked at it in the showroom and in my office, and just kept pinching myself because I couldn't believe that I had snagged this. Now, Zach, being the deal maker that he was, I think he had this car sold to about 3 other people. At the same time, I said, Zach, man, you made me a promise. And to his credit, because there are larger collectors out there of McLaren, one guy in particular back in Chicago, you may or may not know him, but so I just had to put my foot down and just said, Zach, we had a deal, I'm getting the car, and he finally just said, okay. And so we drew up the contract, and that was another thing altogether. But, so I mean, it's just one of those things where, as a young man, I was 32 years old, and I started Griot's Garage at 30. And thank you all for letting me do what I absolutely love. But I was invited to go to the Italian Grand Prix by Uzag, and we still sell Uzag tools. And if you don't have any, buy the store out today, because I don't know, how long they're going to be around. Anyways, that's a sales pitch. We'll get back to the story. So I'm, the Italians are absolutely crazy about their F1, and they're a lot more crazy about Ferrari. And so I was just a fan of Formula One back then, and I had my camera, and lo and behold, I was taking pictures of this car back in 1992 when it went by. So wow. Little did I know 30 years later that I would actually end up owning it. So it's kind of a dream come true, full circle. And so this particular chassis scored a 3rd place that day in 1992, for the Italian Grand Prix. And it went to Monaco the very next race, and it qualified 3rd. And at that time, Williams was the team to beat. They had the active suspension, and this was going to be Honda's last year, for the V12, and so they weren't really putting any more, work into the engine to squeeze out another 3, 5, 10 horsepower. So, you know, Senna's got an old car that doesn't handle as well as his previous models because, you know, they were dominating. You know, McLaren was dominating up until 1992. So 1991 was his last world championship. And Honda had won about 59 races with this engine. And most of it, if not all of it, was you know, with McLaren. And so he goes to Monaco, qualifies third. The Williams have everybody, you know, covered with the active suspension. And so during the race, Senna worked himself up to second. Mansell was in first. Had it like over, I don't know, a minute. I think we've got it on the board, and it's really one of the closest finishes of any Monaco race. Mansell thinks he's got a punctured rear tire and things are, you know, feeling right. So he goes into the pits and, you know, Senna gets by. Mansell comes out of the pits and is on fire. I mean, he's not on fire, but I mean, his butt's on fire, wanting his place back. And the next 5 laps, they are just nose to tail. Mansell looking for a way, any way to get by Senna. And as we all know, Senna is the king of Monaco at this point. I don't know how this guy did it because, I mean, Mansell was sticking his nose in at the carousel, I mean, everywhere. And, you know, you can make a Formula One car as wide as you want when you're, you know, in the lead. And that's what Senna did, and he finished like within, you know, a half second or less. And he knew where to slow the car down because he knew where the strength of the Honda engine was versus Mansell's active suspension. So he came across, you know, the line first in 1992. So that was his 5th winning Monaco win. He went on the following year. McLaren had a Ford engine in the back, and he won Monaco for the 6th time. So that was 1993. And then we all know, you know, Senna went to Williams because Williams was the car, and we all know what happened at the Italian Grand Prix. So for those that don't know, he passed away, you know, in an accident. Yes. And so let's talk about the Honda engine for a bit. It's a RB122, or maybe it's a R122B, but it's a 3.5 liter V12. So really the last of the V12s. It had around 800 horsepower at 14,500 RPM. Now, come to find out, when you start this car up, we can only get it to rev to 7,000 RPM because you have to have it in gear and actually go down the track to get that last 7,000 RPM. So we are not going to be going to 14,000. There's something, I know, there's something in this computer. If any computer hackers are here that can get it to 14,000 RPM, I'll give you some free donuts and a holiday.
There's a reason why they do that.
Yeah, so this is called Rocket Red. And Rocket Red, back in 1977, 76, I can't remember what M23, you know, first had it, but they were trying to replicate the, you know, the Marlboro Red on TV back then. So, and the first Marlboro cars were kind of, you know, the color of the box, and it just was not popping on you know, TV. So around, I would think it was 70. Let's see, I was at Long Beach in 76. So 1976, they changed it to rocket red, which is what you see here, and that changed it forever. I mean, it's one of the most iconic paint jobs ever. You're going to run it for what, 2 minutes or something? Yeah.
We'll watch the tape.
So it'll be very quick. So just pay attention when we finally do.
Eddie will be in it. Okay, here we go.
Imagine that thing at 14,000 RPM. That was $7 grand.
There's some tracks you can stand with and go 1 mile. Say that again? There's some tracks you can stand with and 1 mile close, you know?
All right, that concludes today. Thank you all for coming.
Wow. There's not that.